Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, you're welcome to Sew with Mediva, and if you're a returning subscriber or a returning viewer, thank you for sticking to my channel. So in today's video, I'll be showing you guys how to make this simple top with handkerchief flare design, and I achieved this style using 2.5 yards of African print fabric. So if this is something you are interested in, make sure you watch till the end so that you don't miss out on any detail. And if you find this video useful, if you find it helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel, share this video to your loved ones, and also put on a notification bell so that when I post new videos you'll be notified. So let's jump right into the tutorial. So for this style, I made use of 2.5 yards of this African print fabric. You need your lining, which is optional because for this tutorial I did not make use of a lining, so you can do without a lining for this top. You need your tape rule, you need your scissors and your chalk. So let's go ahead to fold the fabric. So we're starting with the upper part of this top, and I have my fabric cut out already, so I'll be cutting out both the front and the back panels together. So both fabrics are in a fold of 2. So the front panel is in a fold of 2 and the back panel is also in a fold of 2. And the back panel is going to have a zipper, that is why it is bigger than the front. Towards the center back, I have 1.5 inches here for the zipper allowance at the center back. And so to get the wideness of fabric to fold, go ahead to divide the biggest part of your upper body. Mine is my bust by 4. I got 11 inches. And then I added 1 inch for seam allowance, making 12 inches. So my fabric is 13 inches in a fold. And then for the length of the upper part, it is going to be from your shoulder to your half length. So from my shoulder to my half length, which is just above your belly button, is 16 inches. So that first line I marked is the shoulder line. So to my half length is 16 inches. I've gone ahead to mark it there. So from this shoulder line, I'm going to mark the vertical measurements needed for this top. So let me first of all demarcate this zipper allowance. You can go ahead to fold it in this way so that you don't get confused, or you could just leave it this way, but make sure you take all your measurements on the front panel alone. So let's mark the vertical measurements. So I'm going to need from my shoulder to my bust point, your nipple point, mine is 11 inches. And then from my shoulder to my half length is 16 inches, which we have already marked out. So after that, come over to the shoulder line you marked out, and mark your shoulder to shoulder measurement divided by 2. So my shoulder to shoulder measurement is 16 inches, divided by 2 is 8 inches. So I'm going to mark 8 inches there. And then from that 8 inches, I'll come down by my round armhole measurement divided by 2. And then I'll add 1 inch to it for my shoulder slope, which is 9 inches. So I'll go ahead to connect the points together this way and further extend the line. So the next thing is to mark the neckline. So for the wideness of the neckline, I made use of 3.5 inches. And then the depth of the back neckline, I made use of 1.5 inches. Note that I'm still going to turn this over with my facing. So I'll go ahead to form the back neckline first. And then for the depth of the front neckline, remember it's a V-shaped neckline, I'm going to come down by 8 inches. But you can make yours 7 inches, or you can even make it 9 inches. Just depends on what you want. So I'll connect it all the way to the neck width to form a V-shaped neckline. So the next thing is to take the shoulder slope. So I'll come down to this armhole line and come down by 1 inch, and then I'll connect it to the neck width, forming a slant this way. So after that, come over to this armhole line and take the midpoint of the line. So mine is 4 inches. And then on the chest line, I will mark my round bust measurements divided by 4. Mine is 11 inches. So I'll go ahead to connect the points together this way. So after doing that, this is what we have. The next thing is to place the dart. So to get your dart line, divide your nipple to nipple measurement by 2. So mine is 4 inches. So I'm going to mark 4 inches. I'll mark 4 inches on this half length line, and I'll also mark the 4 inches on the bust line. And then I'll connect the 2 points together. So on this half length line, I'm going to take 1 inch. For my bust size, I'll take 1 inch on both sides of the line. Yes, this. So you can do 0.5 inches if you are on the small side, and from the bust point I'll come down by 1 inch and then connect it this way with a slight curve all the way up this way. So this is all for the dart. After marking the darts, the next thing is to place the round body measurements. So I'll come over to the bust line now and mark my round bust measurements divided by 4, which is 11 inches, and 1 inch for seam allowance. So if you're using a lining, you can add 1.5 inches for seam allowance. And on this half length line, I'll mark my round waist measurements divided by 4, which is 9 inches. I'll add a 2 inches for that, making 11 inches, and 1 inch for seam allowance, making 12 inches. So I'll connect the points together this way. So this is what we have. This is basically all. Let's go ahead to cut it out. So let's go ahead to cut it out. So before I cut the shoulder, I'm going to add half an inch for the joining allowance. So I'll add half an inch for the joining allowance, and then I'll cut out the back neckline first. So after cutting out, I'll notch the dart point, separate the two from each other, and then cut out the front neckline. So after cutting, this is what we have. So let's work on the back panel now. So to avoid any zipper bulge at the back, so I'll mark out 0.5 inches towards the center back this way, and then form a slanted line all the way up. So by doing this, you're going to eliminate any kind of zipper bulge at the back. And then at this lower part, I'm going to come up by 1 inch again and just slant it to the side this way to give that perfect fit at the back. So this is what we have for the back panel, and this is what we have for the front. So I'm going to cut out facing now that I'm going to use to finish up the neckline. So let's go ahead to do that now. So I'm going to use the neckline now to cut out the facing for this top. So I have this fabric here. So you can use your bias strip to also finish up the neckline. So I'm going to place the neckline of the front panel on this fabric this way, and then I'll go ahead to trace it out. You can use your pins to hold it down so that it's firm. I'll trace it out this way, and then I'll add 1 inch on the sides all the way down. You can do 1.5 inches. So I'll go ahead to cut it out. So guys, I've gone ahead to cut out the facing, and this is what it looks like. So I'm going to place it on the neckline, right sides facing each other this way, and then I'll take it to my sewing machine and stitch it all the way down. So I'll advise to start from the midpoint, this midpoint. So stitch it to one side all the way up, and when you're done, stitch the other side to get that very sharp V effect. I'll repeat the same process for the back panels. I'll cut out the facing and stitch it down on it. So when I'm done, I'm going to use my hemming gum to gum it on the wrong side of the fabric. So I'm going to show you guys how to do that. So after stitching, I'm also going to take in my darts. So I'll take in the darts for the front panels. Remember, we have notched the point where we have the darts, so I'm just going to stitch it down from where I want it to stop. I'll repeat the same process on the other side. I'll fold in those notched parts. So I'll stitch it all the way down. So this is where my dart is going to stop. I'll just stitch it all the way down. So I'm going to also take in the dart for the back panels, but just that the back panel dart is going to be directly on the bust point. So I'll just come down by 11 inches from the shoulder and take it in. So when I'm done doing all of that, I'll show you. So after stitching down the facing to the neckline, this is what it looks like. And I also took in the darts. You can see how the bust area is looking now. You can see what we have. So right now, before we turn it over, I've also done the same thing on the back panel. I used my facing and stitched it down, and I took in the dart. So you can see that the dart at the back is higher than the one in front. So the dart at the back will stop on your bust point. So right now, before we turn it over to the right, to the wrong side, I'm going to just notch the seam area. So just make small cuts on that seam, making sure it doesn't get to the part that has the thread. So after notching, I'm going to then flip this over now to the wrong side this way and iron it out. So make sure you iron it out flat, fold it into two and iron it out this way. So after ironing, get your hemming gum. This is what the hemming gum looks like, and then place it underneath the fold. After placing it, get a hot iron and then just place it on it. So that iron is the heat from the iron is going to melt the hemming gum, so it will hold the fold firm on the wrong side. I hope you guys understand. So use your iron to melt the hemming gum to keep the fabric stable, and then do the same thing for the back panels. Iron it out first and then use your hemming gum to seal it. So when I'm done doing all of that, I'll show you guys. So guys, after I ironed the hemming gum to the seam, this is what it looks like on the right side, and this is what the wrong side looks like. You can see how neat this came out. So I also did the same thing for the back panels, and this is what it looks like. I'm gonna head to iron it out. You can see how neat this looks. So the next thing now is to join the front and the back panels together. So I'm going to place them right sides facing each other, and then I'll use the 1/2 inch that we added to the shoulders to join the shoulder areas together. So join the shoulder areas together all the way down. So when I'm done with that, I'll come over to the sides and use the 1 inch seam allowance that we added and also stitch the sides closed all the way down. So when I'm done, I'll show you guys the next thing to do. So after joining the shoulders and closing up the sides, this is what it looks like. This is what we have. So the next thing we want to do is to cut out the peplum part of this top. So I'm going to open up the waistline. You have to measure what you have all around the waistline. So I'm going to go ahead to measure mine. So go ahead to measure what you have on the waistline, just as you can see me doing in the video. So after measuring mine, I have about 39 inches. So I'm going to show you guys now how to cut out the peplum. So we're moving to the lower part of this top, which is the flare part, and we're going to use an handkerchief flare, which we are going to cut in the form of a 360-degree flare. So let me show you guys how to fold the fabric. So to get the wideness of the fabric to fold, first you have to get the full length of your top. So the full length of my top is 28 inches and the upper part has already taken 16 inches. So I'm left with 12 inches for this lower part. So right now I'm going to make sure the fabric I have on a fold here is 12 inches but about 6 inches, which is 18 inches. So I have about 19 inches fold. So first of all, I'll fold it into 2 this way, and then I'll further fold it into 4 this way. So we're going to call this handkerchief flare in the form of a 360-degree flare. So after folding into 4, this is what we have. So I can have my full length all the way around this unfolded fabric, as you can see. So the first thing is to mark the waist radius. So remember that to cut a 360-degree flare, you have to divide your round waist by 6.28. So after dividing mine, I got about 6 inches. So I'm going to mark 6 inches all the way around it from the apex of the fabric, and then I'll connect the points together. So after doing that, the next thing is to mark the length of the flare. So the length of my flare is 12 inches, and then I'm going to add this these 6 inches I already have at the upper part, making 18 inches, and then I'll add 1 inch for the folding allowance. So I'm going to come down by 19 inches. So I'll mark 19 inches on this side, and then remember, if it's a 360-degree flare, we're going to mark it all around it. But for this handkerchief flare, I'll come over to this other side and mark that same 19 inches, and then from that point now I'm going to then come down again by the same 19 inches. So you can see that it's in a form of a square, as you can see. I'll come down by 19 inches and then I will connect all the points together. Just watch what I'm going to do here. So after marking, I'm going to go ahead and connect all these points together, as you can see. So you can see that it is different from our regular 360-degree flare. So I'm going to connect this point also all the way down this way. So this is basically all on how to cut your handkerchief flare. You can see how beautiful it looks. But for mine, I'm still going to modify this handkerchief flare because I want it to look just the way it is on the thumbnail. But you can leave yours this way. It is totally optional. So I'm going to add 1/2 inch to this waistline for the joining allowance. So let's go ahead now to cut it out. So this is the way you cut your handkerchief flare. So you can decide to make yours any length you want. It just depends on what you want for you. So guys, before I open this up, I'm going to make a little modification to my own flare. So I noticed that the one in the video, the upper part is a bit shorter than the sides. It's a bit shorter, so I'm going to just come up to this center front now and take off some inches. So like I said, this part is totally optional. You can decide to just leave yours as a normal handkerchief flare, but I just want to try this out to see the outcome. So I'm going to come up here by 4 inches on the center front and also take that same 4 inches at the center back. So you can decide to do this for the center front alone and not do it for the back. You just play with it whatever you want. So I'm going to connect it all the way to that edge this way and also connect this one this way. So let's go ahead now to cut this out. So after cutting out, this is what it looks like. So when you open it up, you have something that looks like this, and then I'll just open up the center. So the next thing now is to join this flare to the upper part of the top. So to join the flare to the upper part of the top, the first thing you have to do is to get the midpoint of the flare. So go ahead to fold it into 2 this way and then notch the center point. And then for the upper part as well, you're also going to get the midpoint. So fold it into 2 as well and get the center point, center front, and then notch it. So go ahead to place the notched points on each other this way, right sides facing each other. So use your pins to hold it down, and starting from that midpoint, go ahead to stitch the flare to the upper part all the way down using the 1/2 inch joining allowance. Stitch it all the way down. So you can see that it fits into the waistline perfectly. So I'm going to stitch the other side as well all the way down. Stitch it into it this way all the way down using 1/2 inch. So after joining the upper and the lower parts together, I'll show you guys what it looks like. So after joining the upper and the lower parts together, this is what it looks like. And this is what the back of the top looks like also. So I have also finished up the edge of the flare. I just folded it in twice and stitched it all around. This is what we have. So be careful with yours. Take your time to do it so that you have a neat finishing just like this, and then you iron it out. So the next thing we want to do is to cut out the sleeves and insert it. So we're going to be cutting the 2 sleeves together. So this is the fabric I'll be working with. So it's a simple short sleeve. It's a basic sleeve, basic short sleeve. So I folded my fabric into 4, and then the length of my sleeve is 8 inches. So I have about 10 inches after folding. The 8 inches is going to be plus the folding allowance. So after marking that, I'll come over to the upper part of the fabric and come down by my cap's height. So your cap's height is your round bust measurement divided by 12 and then add 1/2 inch. So after extending the line, I'm going to place my round armhole measurement divided by 2 on this line, which is 9 inches. And then from that 9 inches I just marked, I'm going to connect it all the way to the apex of the fabric this way, forming a slant. So after that, I'll get the midpoint of the line, which is 5.5 inches, and then I'll come up by 0.5 inches and also come down by 0.5 inches, forming a curve this way. So after that, the next thing is to place the bicep measurement. So measure what you have around your bicep. So mine, I have 14 inches divided by 2, which is 7 inches, and then I added 1 inch for my seam allowance. So I'm going to connect it all the way this way. So after that, this is basically all for the sleeve. Let's go ahead to cut it out. So after cutting out, this is what we have. I'll notch the upper part of the sleeve this way. So when you open it up, the first thing is to finish up the base of the sleeve, folding the 1/2 inch twice, or you can use your lining to turn it over. So when I'm done, I'll turn it to the wrong side and take in the seam allowance, and then I'll show you. So I have inserted the sleeve for one side, so I'm going to show you guys how to insert for the other one. And this is what the sleeve should look like after you've closed it up. So right now I'm going to pass the sleeve through the wrong side of the fabric. Pass it in through the wrong side of your top and make sure the right side of the sleeve is facing the right side of your fabric this way, and then match the point you notched on the sleeve to the shoulder joining, and then go ahead to stitch it all around it. You can use your pins to hold it down before stitching so that it's be easy for you. So you can see that the sleeve fits perfectly into the armhole. So after stitching it all around, I'll show you guys how to insert the zipper. So after inserting the sleeves, this is what it looks like. So the last and final thing to do is to insert the zipper at the back. So I have my zipper here. So the zipper I'm working with is the exact length of the back panel. So the first thing to do is to mark out the 1.5 inches for zipper allowance all the way up this way. So I'm going to place my zipper this way, and then I'll go ahead to stitch it on that line all the way down. Stitch it in. So when I'm done with that, I'll mark the same 1.5 inches allowance on the other side. I'll mark it all the way up this way, so you can use your pins to hold down the zipper before you stitch it. And when I'm done, I'll also stitch the zipper on that line. So the zipper is going to appear this way on the wrong side when you are done stitching. So when I'm done inserting the zipper, when I'm done stitching it down, I'll show you guys what the finished product of this top looks like. So after inserting the zipper, this is what it looks like. So you can see how neat this came out. This is what the back of the top looks like. This is what we have, and this is what the front panel also looks like. So this is where we end this video for today. I hope you found it useful and I hope you learned something new. I'm going to go ahead and iron this top now. So if you found this video useful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel, share my videos to your loved ones, and don't forget to put on a notification bell so that when I post new videos you'll be notified. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.